What if your next mailbox check didn't include a property tax bill? Here's what's changing, why it matters to your wallet, and where tax-free homeownership might actually happen. From Idaho's bold sales tax swap to Texas's surplus-powered roadmap to zero, these are 12 states cutting property taxes to zero. Is yours on the list? Let's find out. Number 12, Idaho. This state is testing the boldest lever of all: erase property taxes on primary homes and replace that revenue at the checkout line. The proposal on the table would zero out the bill for owner-occupied houses statewide, then raise the state sales tax from today's 6% to roughly 8% or more to backfill schools, roads, and public safety. The promise is simple and powerful. If you've paid off your home, the government shouldn't be able to bill you out of it. The trade-off is just as clear. Every grocery run and oil change costs a little more. Supporters call it justice for retirees and asset-rich, cash-constrained owners who can't absorb reassessments. People worry about renters and working families who'd shoulder higher consumption taxes without getting a property tax break in return. Idaho's case is so stark because the math is easy to grasp. A typical homeowner saving a few $1,000s a year on property taxes versus paying a point or two more on every taxable purchase. Number 11, Kansas. This state looked at runaway assessments and said, slow down and ask first. The state's Truth in Taxation plan would cap how much counties can grow total property tax collections each year, unless voters sign off. That changes the default from automatic hikes to explicit consent. It follows 4 special legislative sessions where lawmakers heard the same refrain. Appraisals were spiking budgets even though nothing in people's lives had changed. Think of a retired couple in Leavenworth in a $220,000 home watching their bill jump from about $2,800 to nearly $3,600 in 2 years. No remodel, no new roof, just a reassessment. To protect anyone on predictable income, Kansas pairs system breaks with targeted help. The Safe Seniors property tax refund gives qualifying homeowners $65 plus roughly $600 to $700 a year, exactly the kind of cash that decides whether a prescription gets filled. And the broader math still favors Kansas. A median home price around $280,000, groceries about 10% below the national average, and major medical anchors in Wichita and Kansas City that keep care close. The cap won't erase taxes, but it turns surprise into scheduled. In a state built on steadiness, that's more than policy, it's dignity. Number 10, Florida. This place already plays to win for homeowners. No state income tax, a homestead exemption that can knock up to $50,000 off taxable value. And Save Our Homes, which caps homestead assessment increases at 3% a year no matter how hot the market runs. Now, lawmakers want to move even closer to zero for the people most at risk of being priced out of the place they've already paid for. The live idea is a statewide freeze for seniors 65 plus who've lived in their primary home at least 10 years, locking the taxable value so the bill can't outrun a fixed income. The funding? Florida's superpower visitors. With more than 140 million tourists last year and tourism-related taxes and fees north of $35 billion, redirecting a slice could backfill local services while cutting, freezing, or even eliminating the burden for long-tenured owners. For context, the typical homeowner pays around $3,000 to $4,000 a year today, roughly $250 to $350 a month. Clear that, and a retired couple suddenly has room for a Medicare supplement, a trip to see grandkids, or just easier breathing. The catch is shift. Renters need guardrails, so relief for owners doesn't morph into higher rents. But in a state that balances budgets without an income tax, the premise holds: let tourists fund sunshine and let seniors keep their homes. Number 9, Wyoming. This place starts with the lightest touch of nearly anyone. No income tax, no tax on retirement income, no inheritance tax, and a typical property tax rate near 0.57%. roughly a third of what you see in high-tax states. For many residents, the bill is already modest, often a few hundred to a couple $1,000s per year, depending on county mill levies. But the equality state isn't stopping at low. Lawmakers have piloted refund programs that pay back up to 50% of the property tax for qualifying owners and advanced proposals to eliminate property taxes on primary residences altogether, replacing those dollars with mineral royalties and tourism revenue. The math works uniquely well here. Wyoming's population is just over 580,000, smaller than many metro suburbs, while oil, gas, coal, and mineral production throw off billions in severance taxes, royalties, and lease payments. The state also maintains one of the nation's strongest rainy day cushions to ride commodity price dips. Add in caps on annual tax increases to prevent shock reassessments, and you get a model that points toward none without risking core services. Practically, that could mean hundreds per month back in a retiree's budget in Campbell or Natrona County, or thousands per year for a family that's watched valuations jump with no change in income. Number 8, Colorado. This place's growth story came with a sting. Since 2019, property taxes surged by more than 50% across many counties. A retired couple in Denver saw their annual bill rise from roughly $3,200 to nearly $5,000. Same house, same income, different line on a spreadsheet. In places like Jefferson, Arapahoe, and El Paso, assessments on ordinary homes that were $400,000 just a few years ago are now landing closer to $700,000, even when owners haven't added a single square foot. Voters are pushing back with a measure that would cap collections by freezing a county's total property tax revenue unless voters approve an increase. In plain English, if values jump, mill rates must adjust down to keep the take flat unless the public says otherwise. That restores predictability for people who can't absorb $1,000 surprises on a fixed income. The numbers matter because the median single-family bill in many Front Range suburbs now eats a bigger slice of take-home pay than at any time in the past decade. Locking collections puts a ceiling on that creep and forces local budgets to grow by consent, not inertia. It doesn't erase the bill, but it ends the gotcha. For a state that prizes independence, that's the kind of ask the voter first reset that can keep retirees in place and first-time buyers from tapping out. Number 7, Tennessee. This state is the stealth entry on every tax map. The state already posts one of America's lowest average property tax rates at about 0.56%. On a $300,000 home, that's roughly $1,680 a year, numbers that look almost imaginary if you're coming from New Jersey or Illinois. The revenue side is buoyed by a surging economy, booming manufacturing and healthcare corridors in Nashville, Knoxville, and Chattanooga, unemployment scraping near lows, and tourism that clears $30 billion annually. With budgets running a surplus and the old haul tax on interest and dividends fully gone since 2021, leaders are openly exploring how to shift more local funding to broad consumption taxes so homeowners can inch closer to zero. Phase 1 is already in the books: expanded property tax relief for seniors, veterans, and disabled homeowners, with reimbursement programs covering a sizable share of the annual bill for those who qualify. The next phase under discussion would use sales and tourism taxes to replace larger chunks of local levies, effectively phasing down the homeowner burden. For an average owner, that's real money: $125 to $200 a month of relief, or up to $2,000 a year back into household budgets. With a median home price near $320,000 and a cost of living roughly 12% below the national average, Tennessee's pitch is pragmatic rather than flashy. Own your place, live your life, and let growth, not your porch, carry the load. Number 6, Georgia. This state is moving past Band-Aids and going straight for the source of the pain: countywide collections. Instead of letting assessments soar and quietly inflate tax take, The proposal puts a ceiling on how much total property tax revenue a county can collect each year. If values jump, millage must come down to keep the county's overall intake flat, unless voters explicitly say yes to more. That system-level break arrives after a bruising stretch where property taxes climbed about 52% since 2019 across large parts of the state. In metro counties like Cobb, Henry, and Gwinnett, a home that sold for $250,000 in 2016 can now be assessed near $400,000 on paper, even when household income hasn't moved in step. Georgia also stacks targeted relief on top of the cap. Senior school tax exemptions in many counties erase the education portion of the bill once you hit qualifying age, often worth $1,000 to $2,000 a year for retirees who are choosing between medication, repairs, and groceries. With a median home price around $320,000 and steady access to care through systems like Emory and Piedmont, the numbers are workable until your bill doubles. That's why shifting to Ask the Public First matters. It doesn't starve schools or police, it forces growth to match consent, not momentum. For fixed-income owners, that is stability you can pencil into next year's budget instead of bracing for another surprise. Number 5, Nebraska. This place isn't just trimming rates, it's rebuilding the architecture that created the pressure. For decades, local property taxes have carried an outsized share of school funding, pushing the state into the national top 10 for highest property tax burdens despite middle-of-the-pack incomes. The reform plan on the table shifts a meaningful portion of school finance from local levies to the statewide tax base, spreading cost across more shoulders and dialing down the automatic squeeze on homeowners. The stakes are obvious in rural counties where families are asset-rich, cash-poor. Land and homes are assessed higher every cycle, but crop prices and pensions don't keep pace. When a ranch's taxable value rises by tens of thousands in a reassessment, the annual bill can jump by hundreds to a few $1,000s with no change to cash flow. The state's approach is slow by design, true structural reform always is, but the numbers add up differently when local budgets don't have to lean so hard on your parcel. By moving dollars to the state side, the goal is to flatten volatility, narrow the gap between wealthier districts and small-town schools, and keep people in the homes they've already paid for. Nebraska's payoff isn't a headline-grabbing zero tomorrow. It's durable relief that holds 5 and 10 years out. Number 4, Michigan. This state isn't treating housing like a slogan, it's treating it like dignity. Step 1, the state is widening exemptions and targeted cuts so low to middle-income retirees can shrink or even erase their property tax bill. If you're living on Social Security, wiping out $1,500 to $3,000 a year can be the difference between calm and chaos. Step 2, cities back it up. In Detroit, the HOPE program can turn a looming tax foreclosure into a $0 bill based on your income and household size. That's real money staying in your pocket for roofs, furnaces, prescriptions, not penalties. And with utilities, insurance, and repairs already eating an extra $100 to $200 a month compared to a few years ago, that relief lands where it counts. Michigan isn't promising a statewide zero overnight, but it is building an effective zero for the people who need it most and scaling that safety net beyond one city. Number 3, Montana. This state tried a neat trick, a graduated property tax. Pay a lighter rate on the first chunk of value, a heavier one on the top end. Sounds fair, right? Until values in a lot of counties jumped 30 to 40% and regular folks got yanked into higher brackets they never planned for. The rules are simple on paper. The first $400,000 gets hit around 0.76%. Anything above $1.5 million is closer to 2.2%. But the reality isn't. Retirees in Missoula, Gallatin, and Flathead watch their bills climb fast without adding a single square foot. One former teacher saw her annual tab nearly double in 5 years from reassessments alone. Here's the real takeaway. Property taxes don't follow your paycheck. They follow the market's mood. If homes down the street sell hot, your assessment becomes their scoreboard, and your bill chases it. With new values getting locked in before year end, that number can set your costs for years. The smart move is math, not magic. Appeal the moment your notice arrives. If a few sales bumped your baseline by $50,000 to $100,000, that could mean $500 to $1,500 more every year unless you push back. Number 2, North Dakota. This place took the biggest swing at True Zero. Voters backed a citizen plan to wipe out property taxes entirely and cover about $3.1 billion a year with oil and gas money from the state's $9+ billion legacy fund. On paper, it's tempting. The average homeowner pays roughly $2,700 a year, about $225 a month. That could vanish. With median home prices near $285,000 and fewer than 800,000 residents, it even feels doable. Then comes the catch. Oil revenue rides global price waves, and building schools, fire services, and policing on that roller coaster made people nervous. In 2024, the ballot measure failed. Not because folks hate savings, but because volatility is a tough sell. Still, the momentum matters. If legacy fund earnings keep spinning off hundreds of millions and royalties stay healthy, the state could keep buying down bills and push many households closer to zero. The message landed either way. If you own your home, you shouldn't feel like you're renting it forever. Expect the idea to return with a steadier backfill plan and tighter math. Finally, at number 1, Texas. This state isn't whispering about tax relief, it's kicking the door in. Texans pay one of the heftiest effective rates in the country, about 1.7%. On a $400,000 home, that's roughly $7,000 every year, even when the mortgage is long gone. So Austin went big. First came a record $18 billion relief package in 2023. Then the total push swelled to about $50 billion, and the homestead exemption jumped from $100,000 to $140,000, carving more value out of the tax base. But the headline is bolder. The governor wants a true phase-out of property taxes. The bridge? A $33 billion budget surplus plus broader sales and consumption taxes to replace school and county levies, the biggest pieces of your bill. As a $2 trillion economy keeps expanding and a population near 31 million widens the sales tax base, collections on what you own shift toward what you buy. Add in appraisal reforms after some counties saw assessments leap from around $380,000 to $500,000 in a year. And you've got a plan that tackles both the rate and the shock. If Texas lands this, it's massive. A San Antonio couple paying $6,000 a year keeps $60,000 over a decade, multiplied by millions of households. That's a competitive magnet unlike anything else in the US. Fine print matters, though. The handoff has to keep schools and public safety fully funded. Still, Texas isn't selling a slogan. It's funding a roadmap, line items and all, toward a future where zero isn't a fantasy, it's the destination. 12 states. Some bold plans, some fine print, some that swap the bill to your shopping cart. The real question isn't zero, it's whether you'd stake your house on it. Drop your state in the comments. And remember, a missing tax bill usually comes with a story you'll want to read twice.